G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be going over a bit more off-season content. These are the sort of videos I did last year and wanted to do them again this year. In today's video, we're going to be going over the best AFL player at every single age. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'd be much appreciated. And let's get into today's video. Okay everyone, so here are the ages on your screens right now. We've got 19 years old all the way up to 37 years old. Of course, there's no 18-year-olds in this video because as you can see down your bottom left of your screen, it says all player ages at December 31st. So this is just a more accurate way of putting players into their specific age group. So let's say there's a player who's 22 years old. His birthday to turn 23 is in December, let's say. We'll put him in at the 23-year-old age bracket. Just makes things a lot more accurate. So we'll kick it off, of course, starting from youngest to oldest. 19 years old, I've gone with no other than Nick Daicos from Collingwood. I think it's a pretty simple decision, to be honest. You know, there was like Saligo and Horn Francis and Paul Curtis to put in too. But yeah, he's the clear-cut player to put in. Rising star winner, brilliant year across halfback. Oof, his potential is just sky high. Moving on to 20 years old, and I've gone with 𝐼𝐴 from the Sydney Swans. He was the Players Association best first-year player last year, and this year, I felt like it was probably, his season was a bit more quiet than last year, probably because last year was a lot more of a media hype season around him. But yeah, he was just ultra consistent this year for the Swans. You know, just an exquisite ball use. His kicking is something special, and the thing is, he plays tough. He plays big for his small frame, so he's a special player. Solid year he had, 𝐼𝐴. For 21 years of age, and there's plenty of solid options here. Could go Matt Rowell, Anderson, Newcombe. There's just a lot of awesome options to go with, and I'm going to be going with Chad Warner from the Sydney Swans. I think just out of the young guns, his was probably the most exciting breakout year we could have seen. Just his attack on the footy, how he's able to take the game on, the X factor he shows is something special. You know, around the stoppage, he's just ultra clean, loves to take the game on. He's just a cracking player. Chaddy Warner, he had such a sensational year, so I've got him as the best player for 21 years old. For 22, I've gone with Connor Rozee from Port Adelaide. Of course, there's like Walsh and Bailey Smith, Nick Blakey, Zach Butters, a lot of solid options to go with. But remember, this video is actually based off the 2022 season, not their whole career. I'd obviously go with Sam Walsh, but I feel like this year has to be Connor Rozee. As soon as he moved into that midfield halfway through this season, not only his game, but Port Adelaide's game, just changed and, you know, turned it up a level. But yeah, All-Australian, deservedly, I do feel, can win games off his own boot and, you know, just a classy player, able to go forward and kick goals whilst rack up the football. For 23, I've gone with no other than Andy Brayshaw from Fremantle. Davey Zuniak, Dylan Moore, Sam Taylor, Ed Richards, those kind of players were in selection. But yeah, had to be Brayshaw with the Lee Matthews Trophy. Winner from this year, I think the best two-way runner, midfielder in the competition. I still feel he's underrated in a way, doesn't get the recognition he deserves. I feel like if he played for a Victorian club, he probably would get a bit more. But no, this is going to be a future captain, that is safe to say, for Freo. The leadership he shows on and off the field. Yeah, just an extremely hard worker as well. Always does the grunt work. That's what makes him an absolute superstar. 24 years of age. It was a really tough one to choose here, but I've just gone with Shea Bolton from Richmond. I think 𝐷 𝐼𝐴 and Shaun Dux, Will Brodie were some honourable mentions I have to say as well. But I just feel he's a bit of a mixed opinion kind of player, Shea Bolton. But I just feel that his influence he brings on the game, he's just such a clean player. One of the most influential players in the comp. And once he gets the ball, he does not waste possession. He's just always hitting the scoreboard or showing some sort of impact forward. You know, just a great year he had, Shea Bolton. Deserved All-Australian recipient too. And for me, he's the best 24-year-old in the competition. For 25 years old, we're now starting to get into more of the established sort of players in the competition. Got some solid options here. Mills, Geordie Dawson, Timmy English. I think I had to go with Clayton Oliver from the Melbourne Demons. In my opinion, I feel like he was maybe the best player this year. If you want to put Paddy Cripps in first, that's fair enough because he won the Brownlow medal. But, you know, it's just when you take a deep eye on Clayton Oliver, just his grunt work he does, him in the coalface, he's just so clean. Always gets it out without much trouble. Just awesome in traffic. And he has the ability to really hit the scoreboard too. He's just the all-round best inside midfielder in the competition. Yeah, has to be the best 25-year-old in the comp, safe to say. For 26 years old, and I've gone with Touk Miller from the Gold Coast Suns, Petrarca, Teqoy, Bailey Dale, Isaac Heaney were a few other options, but I just felt the most consistent player this year. And yeah, obviously the joint winner in the Coach Association Player of the Year, and very close on the Brownlow medal. Had to be Touk Miller for me. Yeah, top three, two-way running midfielder in the competition, a player that you have to really tag if you want to try and beat the Suns midfield, in my opinion. But yeah, just classy on both sides of the ground, and just a Off the field, I think he's just a sensational bloke as well. Great character, 𝐓𝐶 𝐿. For 27 years of age, and we got some interesting choices here. Bontempelli had an awesome year, felt like in the second half. Zach Merritt, Jack Sinclair, I think was the best general defender in the competition, but it had to be Paddy Cripps, the Brownlow medalist for 2022. Just an absolute clearance beast. We all know him. Loves to take the game on, you know, try and break a few tackles. Has a bit of that X factor. Yeah, an awesome year Paddy Cripps did have. Just so many best on ground performances. Really did shine a light on him, and yeah, had to be him for the 27-year-old age bracket. For 28 years of age, and I've gone with Adam Saad from Carlton. There were a few really interesting options. I mean, obviously last year I would have picked Jack Macrae every day of the week, but seriously, Adam Saad really deserves this spot, I do reckon. All-Australian this year, partnered absolutely brilliantly well in Carlton's backline with Sam Doherty, and he really did improve, I felt, his defensive game this year. The dash and his execution was, you know, went to the next level this year. That's what made him a really good attacking halfback flanker this year, just his penetration and his ball use. And All-Australian, top 3 general defender this year, I have to say. 28 years old, the best 28-year-old player in the competition. For 29 years old, and I've gone with none other than 𝘼𝐶𝐾 𝐎𝐿 from the Brisbane Lions. Rory Laird, Jack Crisp, Tom Stewart, even 𝐸 were in the mix for being selected, but I feel like 𝘼𝐶𝐾 𝐎𝐿's, you know, it's a bit of an opinion-wise, but probably, yeah, the best midfielder in the competition. That is totally fair enough to say. Top 3 easily. That is the case. Very unlucky not to take home the Brownlow medal. Very close from doing so, but, you know, I just feel he is, out of any player in the competition, he's the one you need to tag if you want to beat their midfield or beat the Brisbane Lions. He's just such heavy influence of a player. His ability to run from stoppage to stoppage is just second to none. Easily the best 29-year-old player in the comp, 𝘼𝐶𝐾 𝐎𝐿. Now moving on into the 30s, and we kick it off with 30 years old, and I'm going to be going with Tom Lynch from Richmond. Few nice options I could have gone with. Stephen May, that was a really close one. I feel like is it Lynch or Stephen May, because May was probably the best key back in the competition. Tom Liberatore, who I thought had an extremely underrated year, but I've just gone with Lynch just because I feel when he's on, when he's not, you know, when he's fully fit, he's genuinely one of the most influential players in the competition. I know many people can't agree on that, but if you just seriously look at him, his contested marks, his ability to kick multiple goals is just such a special asset for him and for the Tigers. But seriously, if he, you know, played a few more games this year, if he kept injury free, he would have a CARDMAN medal around his neck and probably an All-Australian selection. So that's just such a fine line of what could have happened with his season. But yeah, I feel like he has to get full recognition for his year, Tom Lynch. So yeah, I think he's been the best 30-year-old in the competition this year. For 31 years old, and this is probably a bit of a weaker pool of players, and there was only one standout really, Max Gawn from the Melbourne Demons. It felt like he didn't really have the season that he had like last year, for example, but he still was the best ruckman in the competition by some margin, that is safe to say. We all know him, just awesome in the tap-outs, and when he has the ability to move forward, of course, can be a bit inconsistent, but still his presence in the marking area, and when he's on, when he can kick goals, he's just yeah, an absolute cracking player he can be when he is on. But yeah, had to be him, Max Gawn, for 31 years old. 32 years old now, we're starting to get really thin in the options we can choose from. Obviously, the older we do get throughout this video. A few options, Paddy Dangerfield, Taylor Walker were really two that I was looking at. But just considering that Paddy Dangerfield did take home the finals, best finals player of 2022, I had to choose him really. Yeah, I feel like this year he was rested quite well. You know, he didn't really have an outstanding year, but when it came to finals, he really turned it up. He really wanted to find his first flag, and he truly deserves it. What a champion player he's been throughout his career. But yeah, we just saw some prime Dangerfield in that final series. The attack, the aggression, just the burst of acceleration he still seems to show at 32 years of age around in particular areas, and of course his grand final. Very unlucky not to take home the Norm Smith medal. But yeah, Paddy Dangerfield, the best 32-year-old player this season. Moving on now to 33 years old, and we are quite thin on supply, that is safe to say. Shane Edwards, Riewoldt, Dane Zorko, Tarrant, Mitch Robinson, Big Boy McAvoy, 𝐓𝐿 𝐿𝐼. But yeah, considering there isn't really any names to shout out there, but just considering he did win a flag, I'm going to be going with 𝐓𝐿𝐼. I still feel he's underrated in a way. Just the attack and aggression he still shows across that halfback for the Cats is something really good to see. Loves to take the game, of course, the Irishman. Yeah, pretty solid final series, that's safe to say as well. So yeah, not really too many options to shout, but I feel like because he did pick up a premiership medallion, I've gone with 𝐓𝐿𝐼 for 33 years old. Now for 34 years old, and we have some pretty solid looking options here, but I've gone with Tom Hawkins from the Geelong Cats. We had Pendlebury, we had Selwood to choose from. Those were probably the two others I was looking at, but you know, the All-Australian captain, a sensational year he did have, Hawkins. Still doing the business at 34 years old. I had to go for him. But yeah, just how he's able to play, you know, a power forward, very good in the contest, very unselfish. He's still got maybe 2 or 3 years left in him. Who knows? For Hawkins, he plays sort of slow, but he plays to his strengths. That's probably the best way to put it. But yeah, awesome year. Did have the Tomahawk, top 5 in goal assists. Still kicked over 50 goals this season. Awesome year. For 35 years old now, and we have 3 options: Buddy Franklin, Shannon Hearn, or Josh Kennedy. I think there's a few others. But yeah, had to be Buddy Franklin. I know that probably a lot of people still criticise him over his poor grand final performance. I totally get that. But he still kicked 50 goals this season. And how he does play Buddy Franklin is he plays like a very mobile player. And considering his age, he can't really play to that anymore. So that's why he slowed down quite a bit. That's why he has still a lot of games where he plays poor. But still, his ability to kick 50 goals this season is something really special. He's had those games where he still wins games off his own boot. I still feel he's a bit of a overhated player in a way. But, you know, fair enough, what everyone else thinks. But I still felt he had a solid year. Buddy Franklin managed to kick over 50 goals as a 35-year-old. Something amazing. But yeah, Buddy Franklin, best 35-year-old in the AFL this year. And for the final 2 ages, 36 and 37 years old, there can only actually technically be 1 player for 36, and that's Stephen Martin from the Western Bulldogs. But yeah, retired obviously at the end of this season, and yeah, pretty solid career, I'd have to say. Obviously did quite a nice stint over there at the Brizzy Lions before coming over to the Bulldogs, and had a nice sort of stint last year as well, helping the Doggies make the grand final last year. But yeah, only 1 player to put in, Stephen Martin for 36. And for 37, I think we all know who this is. It is, of course, David Mundy for Fremantle. And yeah, look at that, the oldest player in the comp. We seriously had this secret thought that could he go again for another year, but no, fair enough, he did hang up the boots. But a champion career he did have, 1 club man. But yeah, criminally underrated throughout his whole career, really. Just his ability to be ultra consistent for over 15 years of football is something extraordinary, and one of the most respectable players in the competition as well, David Mundy, and he fits perfectly in that 37-year-old age bracket. Okay, everyone, so there is the graphic on your screens. That is all the player ages possible in the AFL competition, and we have gone through and selected the best player at every single age bracket. So feel free to comment down below, fellas. Love to hear your fellas' thoughts. Would you change a particular player? Because these videos are always debatable, so I love to hear what you fellas think down below in the comments. So everyone, thank you very much for tuning in into today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you wanted to enjoy today's video. Of course, really starting to get into the thick of it, of the off-season content, and of course the AFL draft coming up, so expect a bit of draft content from now into the lead up at the end of November when the draft does occur. So yeah, everyone, thank you very much for tuning in, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later.